Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a special treat, being a 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage. Now this week I had to get a rental car, and I think I might be the only person on the planet who actively chose to get a Mitsubishi Mirage because I wanted to answer the age-old question, is this car really as bad as everyone says it is? Let's find out. The 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage was, up until its discontinuation last year, the cheapest new car available in the United States. Starting with the wheels on the Mitsubishi Mirage, these are the smallest wheels I've seen on a new car and remind me a lot of the BMW i8 wheels. Now these wheels are 14 inches, and as you can see are hubcaps with a steel wheel behind them. Starting with the back of the Mitsubishi Mirage, this is a pretty simple car on the back. As you can see here, they've added a few little elements to try and make it a little bit sportier, but overall, it's pretty simple back here. Starting with some things that definitely hint at how cheap this car is. As you can see here with the rear camera, they literally just stuck a camera on, likely because this car was produced before the mandate requiring rear backup cameras. You do, however, get a spoiler on the back of your car, which is, I gotta say, pretty nice for a Mitsubishi Mirage. Looking at the front of the Mitsubishi Mirage, this is also a remarkably simple front with no fog lights, as you can see, and halogen headlights. Looking at the headlights, you can also see there's quite a gap under here, and this could be attributed to the rental car, but if it's not, this is pretty crazy to see on a production car. Looking at the interior of the Mirage, let's get started. Now, when you step into your Mitsubishi Mirage, you will notice there's not a lot going on in here. It's a pretty simple interior. However, you do get a little area telling you that you have a Mitsubishi Mirage on your floor mats, because there is pride in owning a Mitsubishi Mirage. If you can see under the seat, you actually get your car jack, which I guess, hey, there's no better spot. This car obviously has manual controls, which actually I'm a fan of. There's nothing to break, but the seats, you can see, are pretty simple. There's no lumbar support. This is pretty basic. Looking at the door of this car, you can see it's pretty basic, and there's actually bare bolts showing. This is it's definitely something you don't see very often. You do have a cup holder here, but I don't think you could hold a lot in there. And then you have a speaker, of course, but this is overall a very, very basic door. The steering wheel is also remarkably simple in its layout, with many blank switches, as you can see here. I don't think this car ever had a radar cruise control, but if it did, I imagine that's where the button would be. This trim obviously does not have that, and the steering wheel likely could have come from another model. But you have simply volume control, and you have buttons to shift between radio stations. You have end call button, answer call. Very, very simple controls here. You have a horn and a Mitsubishi logo to remind you you are driving a Mitsubishi Mirage. Looking at the gauge cluster on this car, you can see this is probably one of the most simple gauge clusters seen in a modern car. You have very, very limited information in your front, seeing your overall mileage of the car. You can see your fuel tank, what gear you're in. You have a analog tachometer and a speedometer. Looking at the area for your gear shifter, you can see it's very basic, and this being a rental car, of course, has no smoking allowed. But you can see more blank switches. You do, however, get two cup holders. Not big enough, however, to fit a Yeti bottle, unfortunately. But very simple in here. Getting into the infotainment screen, not a lot's happening here, but I will say when I got this car, I really thought it wasn't going to have a screen. So it does in fact have a screen. But as you can see here on the home menu, this is probably the least functionality I've ever seen from a home screen. You have a phone button, a setup button, your AM and FM radio, and Bluetooth, which I'm honestly shocked it has Bluetooth. Taking a look at your climate controls, you can see though, this car in fact actually surprised me in that it does have a digital screen for climate controls. You can adjust your fan speed here, adjust your temperature. I really expected this car to just have little knobs, but I am impressed it has a little screen for this. It is not dual zone climate, but it is single zone, and very nice. Looking at the back of the interior of the Mitsubishi Mirage, this back seat is pretty tiny. And as you can see, very basic. You have no climate control back here. You have one cup holder, which is being used by mine because it doesn't fit a bottle. That's pretty basic. It's not a lot going on back here. You can see the doors are pretty thin and there are bare bolts showing. So this is a pretty basic interior. Looking at the trunk of the Mitsubishi Mirage. Now this of course is a hatchback, so you get a little bit more space back here, but overall this is pretty dang tiny. You're not going to get a lot as the back seats do take up a lot of room. There is in fact a spare tire, which is actually really surprising. I was not expecting to have that back here. It's of course not a full size, but it's a donut. And when you're dealing with 14-inch tires, this is actually starting to get pretty close. To add on to me picking this rental car, it was also missing a hubcap when I got the car. I don't know if that's because someone needed to get a hubcap for their Mitsubishi Mirage and they needed that one, or it just fell off. Probably the latter. But as you can see, this car does in fact have 4 lug nuts. In the age of cars beginning to have 6 with these giant EVs, it is a little bit refreshing to see 4 lug nuts on a modern car from 2024. Getting under the hood of the Mitsubishi Mirage, powering this car is a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder engine making 78 horsepower. This is the least amount of horsepower I've ever seen in a modern car, and I almost didn't believe it when I saw it. Now, the overall weight of this car is around 2,000 pounds. This is an extremely light car and gets an average of 39 miles per gallon combined with 46 on the highway. Driving the Mitsubishi Mirage. This car is crazy. I usually am not that critical on cars, and it's something that as I start to review cars, I am working on getting better at that. Because to be honest, I feel that a lot of cars these days are just pretty good. We're at that point where it's hard to find a bad car. But I might say when I'm driving this car, I found that bad car. Now, of course, this car is no longer being made, but it's laughably bad. I mean, I was really thinking this week about who would want to buy this car when it was new. And there are still some on inventory lots that you can get at a Mitsubishi dealer new. I think this car exists for someone who really wants to say they're getting a new car. Kind of getting into that, there's so many other cars you could get, especially if you're in this price range, because I think this car new was about 18,000 or maybe 20,000 if I remember right. But there's so many other used cars you could get that are just so much better than this. So I truly think this car was made for someone who wants to say they can get a new car and wants it within this price range. With that being, I don't see how 78 horsepower in this industry nowadays is enough. I don't think there's anything. My daily is a 2019 Subaru Crosstrek. It makes about 150 horsepower, and I've always complained that car's a little slow. Driving this, however, is just next level. But in how this car steers, this car has the lightest steering I've ever felt. And I remember watching a video and someone was talking about, you can really test, like, I'm going up a hill right now and this thing is so slow. But anyway, with the steering, you can steer it with your pinky. And I remember hearing that in a video one time, someone talking about how light the steering is. This is one of those cars, you can steer it with your pinky, it's that light. So my overall thoughts and recommendations for this car. The Mitsubishi Mirage, as I mentioned, I really think this is for someone who would want to say they're getting a new car and it's still in that sub $20,000 price range. With that being said, I would not recommend this car. I think there are just so many better options you can get for the same money. I would say go get an old Camry. There's just a lot of better reliability options that this car does not offer. So that's my final recommendation. I appreciate you all watching this video, and let me know your thoughts about the Mitsubishi Mirage in the comments, and if you've ever even thought about this car. All right, thank you all for watching. Bye.